All right, rents are falling across major cities in Canada right now, and I got a juicy report for you guys put on by live.rent. So I want to show you guys my favorite part of this report to start off with. So they surveyed 350 renters and landlords and asked them some questions. So how do you feel about the current rent prices you're charging? 45% say they're lower than I prefer, not covering all expenses. 27% say they're fair, but not highly profitable. Just 18% says they're adequate to cover my costs, and 10% say they're profitable. You go over to the renter side. How do you feel about the amount that your landlord charges for rent? Only 7% say it's lower than expected. 23% say it's fair and in line with market rates. 27% say it's slightly above average but reasonable. 43% say it's too high and not reflective of the market. So you have 45% of landlords saying lower than I'd prefer, and then you have 43% of renters saying that it's too high. So basically 45% of people on both sides of this equation feel like they're getting screwed. Next question, what is your actual financial outcome from renting out your property? 33% say taking a loss, 33% breaking even, 31% moderate profit, and just 2% significant profit. Renter, do you believe landlords are benefiting financially from the current rental market? 4% say no, they're losing money, 9% say they're likely just breaking even, 30% say yes, it's moderate, and 57% believe they're making a substantial profit. So 2% of landlords saying they're making significant profit, but 57% of renters believe their landlord is making a substantial profit. There's a pretty big discrepancy there of the reality of the situation. You know, I think seeing this, and we're at all-time highs for new listings of condos, I tend to side with the landlord answered questions on this side. That most people, 66%, are either breaking even or taking a loss. Sounds pretty accurate to me. I might even say it's probably a little bit worse than that. You know, there's probably a lot of landlords out there that don't even know their actual numbers, and they're just looking at the mortgage and not factoring in insurance, maintenance, property taxes, and everything else. So, you know, and it's reflective in the amount of condo listings on the market right now. There are a lot of investors not making any money on their investments, and that is why they're selling. How active do you find the rental market in your area? Some applications, but not as much as expected, 36%. Adequate interest, I can fill vacancies fairly quickly, 28%. Very few applications, not enough demand at 26%. High demand, plenty of applications is only 10%. But almost like 2/3 of renters believe it is extremely competitive and hard to secure a place. However, a lot of these tenants probably found their place when this was the case 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even a year and a half ago, this was the case. However, it is not like that anymore. So I understand the discrepancy here. And then we come down to the rent control argument, one of my favorite arguments. What is your view on the province's rental caps? I'm not sure, I don't know enough. 13%. They're fair and balanced for both renters and landlords, 7%. They're too strict and prevent fair market pricing, 21%. They are necessary but should be more flexible, 19%. They limit my ability to cover rising costs. On the tenant side, what is your view on province's rental caps? I'm not sure, don't know enough, 13%. They're fair and balanced, only 3%. 42% believe they're not strict enough, rents are rising too fast. 20% believe they help but don't go far enough. And 22% say they are essential to keep rent affordable. And you guys know my opinion on this. I don't think we should have rent caps whatsoever. And I've done many videos on why that's the case. I actually think it makes it worse for both the landlord and the renter over the long term. Now on to the actual report. Immigration shaping the declines in rent prices. Although immigration reached a record high in 2024, year-over-year growth slowed noticeably, increasing by just 2% compared to the 5% jump in 2023. This shift reflects the Government of Canada's revised immigration levels plan, signaling a more measured approach into 2025. And as you can see here, it increased 87% in 2021, and it's just been on a steady decline, now 2% in 2024. Interprovincial migration showing a gradual slowdown. In 2024, interprovincial migration slowed down, with year-over-year movement dropping by 8% compared to 2023. Manitoba's up 14%, Quebec is up 2%, and Saskatchewan's up just 0.2%. We're the only provinces to experience an increase in migrants, so people staying in Canada but moving from province to province. So Alberta is down 16%, so it is slowing, but I do believe it's still the province where that has experienced the bulk of interprovincial migration. And we have BC here down 6%. Here we are. Alberta remains the top choice for Canadians relocating, so 45,000 people came to Alberta as opposed to just 30,000 last year. And then you have 32,000 people leaving Ontario and only 5,800 leaving BC. So I'm assuming that these numbers in Ontario probably has a lot to do with why their condo market is basically in a crash right now. Immigration highest level recorded since 2017. In 2024, Canada saw 81,000 people leave the country, the highest number of immigrants recorded since 2017, when 83,000 departed. In fact, every province experienced a year-over-year increase in immigrants, with the total rising by 3% compared to 2023, so 81,000 for this year. And Ontario accounts for nearly half of Canada's immigrants. In 2024, Ontario accounted for 48% of Canada's immigrants, followed by British Columbia just 18%, Quebec 13%, and Alberta 13%. That's crazy. Canada sees 50% decline in net non-permanent residents. In 2024, the net flow of non-permanent residents fell to 319,000, a 50% decline from the 2023 net total of 636,000. Every province experienced an increase in outflow of non-permanent residents. New Brunswick saw the largest year-over-year rise at 97%, Nunavut at 78%, Ontario 67%, Alberta 66%, and Nova Scotia 61%. So getting into this, Ontario saw 39,000 immigrants. We covered that. Ontario sees 66% spike in non-permanent resident departures, so 236,000 versus 141,000 last year. BC is 102,000 versus 74,000 last year. And then if you look at housing starts are down 25% in Ontario, but completions are up 46%. So you're going to feel the housing starts in probably 2027, 2028. The completions you're feeling right now, and that's again contributing to Toronto's housing mess right now with the condo market. Housing starts dropped everywhere except these cities. Burlington, 227%, London, 101%, Markham, 59%, Mississauga, 27%. Then you have Vaughan, Richmond Hill at up 18% for housing starts. And then if you actually look at the numbers, so Toronto rent is now at $21.61 in December of 2024. And if you look at the dotted line in 2023, we were as high as $23.61 in September of 2023. So that is basically, probably about a 10% decline in rental prices for Toronto. But this is just the one bedroom unfurnished. So 10% for one bedroom unfurnished. And then if you look at the makeup, you have one bed's down 8%, two bedrooms down 12%, and then three bedrooms down almost 16%. Now getting into Alberta, again, leading population growth for the second year, up 4% net. And if you look at Edmonton, so Edmonton's rents are on an uptrend, right? So in 2023, they went from a low of 1,044 to 1,232. Sitting at 1,339 today, been declining since October. I'm guessing that could be seasonal, and you may see rents bounce off of this and start, continuing their uptrend in the spring, pushing to higher highs. If you look at construction in Edmonton, up 40%. Calgary's up 21% with housing starts. Toronto's down 39%. Montreal's down 34%. And City of Vancouver's down 15%. Calgary's skyline grows. Apartment completions soar 134% in 1 year. Now, getting into where I live. Okay, so people obviously immigrating. We covered that. No longer the second most sought after province for immigrants, because we have Ontario at number 1, 13%. 15% last year would have put us in second place, but now we're at 13%, being surpassed by Alberta at 14%. And then when we look at construction in BC, we are down 14% for housing starts. Completions are up 21%. And then we look at new housing supply. We have White Rock up 333%, but I think there's just so little housing overall within that market that any one project being built significantly sways these numbers. New West is surprising, up 236%. North Vancouver up 68%, and Langley's not surprising at all. I actually would have thought Langley would have been closer to the top. And maybe if you were to break this down in comparison to the overall housing supply that already exists in that market, Langley might be at the top, because like I said, White Rock is a very small market and it doesn't take much to actually sway the numbers within that market. And they look at housing starts overall, except these lower mainland cities. This is completions, and this is housing starts are up 2,000% in North Vancouver, 200% in Coquitlam, 69% in West Van, and 27% in White Rock. And then Richmond records the highest population decline in all of Metro Vancouver. And then if you look at the rents in Richmond, they peaked out for a one bedroom unfurnished at $26.46, now sitting at $22.67. So that's roughly a 15% decline for one bedrooms unfurnished in just Richmond. And then rent overall for one bedroom unfurnished, we hit a high of $28.49 in August of 2023, now sitting at $24.90. So you're down $350 per month for an unfurnished one bedroom in Vancouver. Overall, down 5.8% year over year, down 13.8% for a two bedroom, and 18.4% for a three bedroom in Vancouver. Sheesh. Now, unfortunately, this downward pressure on rents is likely to continue because, like, we were up 21% for housing completions in 2024. I think in 2025, we're actually going to be up maybe not 21% because we're comping against higher housing completions in 2024, but completions are going to be higher again in 2025. I believe they're expected to be higher than they are in 2024. And then in 2026, they're lower than 2025, but we still have a pretty good amount of housing completions yet to come. And then obviously the emigration situation isn't looking great. So yeah, it looks like there's going to be downward pressure on rents yet to come. That being said, housing starts have been low for a couple years now. They are down 14% this year. They weren't even good to begin with in 2023 or 2022, and we are going to start to feel that in the back end of 2026. So the next 18 to 24 months do not look good. Things probably won't start looking better until we get into 2027. Now, if you're a landlord looking to rent out a property, you're worried about finding the wrong tenant who doesn't pay rent and trashes your place, I found this app called live.rent where these are all mock-up listings. You can come list your place for rent. As an example, you'll get some statistics, impressions, views, leads, applications. You can actually boost your listing, kind of like a Facebook ad. So your listing will show up before other listings if you choose to boost it on this app. And I believe it connects to Craigslist, Kijiji, and you can basically manage everything right from here. And what I love about it is tenants have the choice to upload documents to improve their trust score, right? So as an example, they're partnered with Equifax, so you can see their credit score. You can run a credit check. You can see if they've had bankruptcies, gone through collections. They can upload things to verify their identity and their social media and all of these things that help actually vet them as a tenant, right? So if you don't want to hire a property manager, this is a very good option for, DIY landlords. And of course, tenants don't have to upload these documents, but it's a lot easier for them to find a place to rent if they do and they improve their trust score. So highly, highly recommend you check them out. That's live.rent. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. If you want to chat with me about buying or selling, you can do so using the link in my description to book a call with me. Otherwise, appreciate you guys. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.